Welcome in, friends, to another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Before we get to this latest segment from the latest edition of the Sports Cubicle on WCPT 820 AM, we want to remind you can follow us all over in the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike A Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. You could be interactive with the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk and at Sports Cubicle TV. Like, rate, review, and share us on all major podcast platforms, wherever you get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. Check out the video version of the podcast over at youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. We have swag over at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. And if you would like to get our weekly NFL picks, check us out at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Now enjoy this segment from the latest edition of the Sports Cubicle on WCPT 820 AM with Dan Marver, Devin Tingle, Paul Chivari, and myself, Mike Mercado. Only in the National Football League, only in football, can you have not just so many compelling stories, but so many stories that affect the entire world. And that is what we're dealing with, these kind of stories. And when we're talking about Urban Meyer, when we're talking about the way college football is changing, we're changing the way football is being looked at from Thursday night all the way to Monday night with COVID. It is our pleasure to be able to kind of tackle such important subject matter. Joining Devin and myself on this conversation about the recent craziness in the NFL is the only one from the Daily Blitz covering the NFL and college better than anybody else, is our friend Chris Simpson. Christian, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for joining us.
Man, I'm doing good. It's good to be back. Good to see both of you, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
It's great to see you, my friend. And, there's been a lot of craziness that's been happening. And I think we'll start off with the Urban Meyer situation. You talk about a roller coaster that happened in the NFL with this man. 2 wins in the league, so many ups and downs from beating Buffalo, beating Miami. But, it from the Chris Doyle situation to seeing him go and to his little hiding spot in Ohio State, and then what you're seeing with the kicker situation, the craziness of seeing Urban Meyer fired before the season's over on his first season. Your initial thoughts when you heard the news of Urban Meyer being let go of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I wasn't surprised. You got to realize that this is a guy that came over from college and never had a losing record. He was successful at Bowling Green, successful at Utah with Alex Smith. Florida is where he really became Urban Meyer, or no pun intended, an urban legend. Goes to Ohio State, won 2 national championships at Florida, takes a break to focus on his health, goes back to Ohio State, wins a national championship there, never puts a losing season together there. Then he gets to the NFL and it just seemed like everything just came tumbling down. And the way I look at it, not every coach is meant to coach at the next level in the NFL. Only some can do it and be successful. You look at Jimmy Johnson, he was great at Miami and great in the NFL. What did he win? Like 2 championships with Miami, if I'm not mistaken. And then the 3-peat in the NFL, the 3 he won with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. And now he's a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But look, it starts at the top as far as coaching goes. And Urban's the reason for this, because you can't refer to your coaching staff as losers. Well, okay, if they're losers, then what does that make you? You hired them. So are you, king loser? And it's like, Urban and the 7 Losers, a spinoff of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. But nah, man, it's just, it seemed like they didn't even want to play for him. Because look, me being a former player, when you want to play for a coach, you're going to leave everything on the field. And you didn't really see that in Jacksonville under Urban Meyer. And just some of the things that have come out about him the last couple of months, it hasn't been a good look for him. And he just wasn't made for the NFL, just like Nick Saban wasn't made for the NFL. But look at what Nick's done in college. And I think that's Urban. I just think, he's tailor-made for the college game. It's unfortunate that it had to go down like this, because Jacksonville, they've been struggling for so long. And isn't it crazy to think that this was a team that was a game away from the Super Bowl a couple years ago? And look at how the mighty fall. I mean, they came back close to beating a Tom Brady-led New England Patriots team, and they couldn't get the job done. But it seems like ever since then, it's been a struggle.
I think what fascinates me the most about this situation, I don't know if you feel about it, Devin. We all actually hear Devin's initial reactions when he heard this later on in this episode of the Sports Cubicle. You can see the raw emotion of a Bears fan finding out another coach was fired before the one he wanted to see let go. But of course, this one having so many different circumstances. And what I find fascinating about this scenario is 13 months ago, 14 months ago, number one draft pick, capital space, talking about having all the salary cap you can have in the NFL and ownership that was going to be patient with you. And now you look at what happened to this. Have you ever seen a downfall of an exciting venture, a possibility that was this Jacksonville Jaguars team, happen so fast, just dismantle the entire hope and the good vibes of this organization?
I mean, there were no good vibes to begin with. Look, Trevor Lawrence came in, and you knew it was going to be a down year for him. Like they haven't put much around him, so I can't really blame him a lot. But remember, he's also a rookie too, so he's still in that initial stage of learning things. Get a head coach in there. I think they need a guy with some experience. I think that's what's going to be key. Or you go out and you get somebody young and innovative. Why not a guy like a Joe Brady? I know he was just fired from the Carolina Panthers, but look at what he did with Joe Burrow at LSU a couple years ago. Greatest season I've ever seen from a college quarterback, and it resulted in a national championship. I think the thing about it is, it seems like when there's a coaching carousel and new hires are expected to be made, there's always a wave of what type of coaches are in. Is it defensive-minded guys? Now, the last couple of years, it's been young, innovative coaches. Look at Sean McVay with the Los Angeles Rams. You could even throw your guys' guy in there at the time when, he did win Coach of the Year, and Matt Nagy, because he was relatively young when they hired him. You look at, who's another one? Matt LaFleur with the Green Bay Packers. He's young. He's innovative. So these young, innovative coaches are in. And I could even go as far, look at Notre Dame right now. Marcus Freeman, after Brian Kelly left, Marcus Freeman is 35 years old. And he just had that it factor as a coach, because I just look at the way his defense gravitated to him. And when I'm watching that, I'm saying to myself, look, he's going to make for a great head coach. I don't know where it's going to be, but he's going to be a sought out candidate. So I think that's the direction Jacksonville needs to go in. They need youth because they're a young team.
Devin, what was it that friend of the show, Damian Perdue, said from Think Theory Radio here on WCPT to fellow Sports Cubicle Onion, Paul Chivari?
He said, when has hiring a college coach ever worked out in the NFL? And as we kind of discussed earlier today through text message, I really can't, think of many times here. But again, the Jaguars, this team this year, like as Christian was saying, they gave this team everything under the sun. You got the great Trevor Lawrence, the number one draft pick. You get a guy a coach who's had a winning record, a guy who's had a winning record. They come in and they're 2-14 right now. They're at 2-13, 2-11. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Think about it, guys. Like, you're bringing it up right here. Like, this is a guy that was renowned. This is somebody that behind Nick Saban was the number one college coach without doubt. Like, putting Nick Saban out of it, because obviously that's GOAT status. That's, the guy of this era. Urban Meyer was the head guy. That was the one everybody wanted. He could have had everything at the University of Texas, anything at USC. And in a matter of not even a full NFL season, we've seen the downfall of this man's legacy. And I don't know, unlike John Gruden, I do think there is a quote-unquote road of redemption for an Urban Meyer if he wants it. It's going to be somewhere less glorious, but I think it is something that will happen. What do you, in your opinion, Christian, as you kind of look at this scenario? And, everybody can make their jokes, everybody can have their ha-has about it, but looking at this analytically, what do you do if you're Jacksonville? You talked about looking for a certain type of innovator, but can you afford to be cute at this point when everything is right on the line with your number one draft pick, when there isn't a crazy crop of rookies like there was this past year? Where are you on how much flexibility does the Cons have for this move moving forward?
Man, you can go in a plethora of directions if you want. If you want a defensive guy, you could target Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. He really has that Packers team looking pretty good. You could target Brian Dable. He's an offensive-minded guy He's the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Or you can go in this direction. I don't know if they'll do it. I think it's slim to none that they attempt to do this. You could go get Trevor Lawrence's former college coach from Clemson and Dabo Swinney if you want. But I don't know if Dabo wants to leave the college game. You see what I'm saying? Because he's making a boatload of money out there in South Carolina. So the possibilities are limitless, I feel, at this point. But they need something. They need somebody to come in, and they need a leader, because that's what they haven't had. They need a leader, a guy who can really round up that locker room. Because think about it. You look at most football teams, coaches have been leaders, but there's always been that veteran in the locker room that can round the troops up together. And they don't have that either. I look at all those Baltimore teams for all those years, and who was the main focus as far as leadership was concerned?
Ed Reed and Ray Lewis.
Yeah, well, Ed was more of the heart and soul. Ray was the emotional leader. Like, that team went as far as, as Ray took them. You look at those Giants in the early 2000s, Strahan. You look at the Patriots, Teddy Bruschi. You could even say Rodney Harrison if you want. But, yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars don't have that. And that's the problem. Like, they need that one veteran player who can round up the troops. So when moments like this occur, they can round up the troops and say, hey, we still have a job that we have to do.
And you're 100% correct. If you weren't dealing with the scenario, right, where you had somebody who wasn't playing Robinson. Juice is the truth, and that's one of your key offensive weapons. And if you're looking around that, like a Marvin Jones Jr., somebody who's been around the league, that is respected around the league, and he doesn't have any kind words for a Urban Meyer. It goes right into your point where if your veterans are only going to rally around somebody they want to rally around, you can lose football games. You're going to lose football games in the NFL, but you can't be. You have to have respect, and they need to be given. It's not like how just like the Dabo Swinney one is a little crazy to me, and maybe you disagree, but I think it's another college guy whose his entire MO is I control these kids. I could take away your scholarship. I could take away your playing time. I'm the head ball coach, as he would say. Like, that doesn't work in the NFL. You're dealing with grown men who make more money than you.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good point now that you put it that way. But they need something because it's not looking good.
Get your boy Leftwich. Bring back Leftwich. If you want to spark and you want veteran leadership and you want somebody that is beloved in your organization, why not bring a guy that, granted, I don't know how much film we've seen of him because it's Tom Brady, but you're looking for the splash? Eric Bieniemy, we've seen what he could do if you don't trust the Andy Reid tree, but you've seen some progress, but this could be a conversation. Yeah.
Or if you want, you could even go Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, or you could go Jim Caldwell, because he was the last coach that, I don't know, got a team called the Detroit Lions to the NFL playoffs. I'm just...
Yeah, no, they needed Matt Patricia. No, they need to be biting kneecaps with Dan Campbell. No. Yeah, no, Jim Caldwell, not good enough. Sorry, he's too basic for, the flashy Detroit Lions. That's a different Now you're making me angry, Christian, on already an angry football week. Devin, what you got?
Actually, I want to mention, Christian, I heard one of the guys are thinking about is former Eagles coach Chip Kelly, of all people.
I don't know about that, because when I think of Chip, I think his game is a little bit more tailor-made for college. I think he's going to stay at the college level because it just didn't work for him in the NFL. Did a couple of okay things with Philly. I know they went to the playoffs one year, but other than that, he was awful in San Francisco.
Doug Peterson?
What do
you guys think about Doug Peterson? Maybe even for the Bears. I mean, that's something we could talk about later on this year.
Yeah. You know what? I actually like that move because he's a veteran. He has experience, and he's won a Super Bowl.
Got a ring.
So he knows the ins and outs of winning, but he's also bad at micromanaging things. So that's another thing that you have to look out for too.
Chris Simpson joins us today here on the Sports Cubicle. Devin Tingle and myself, Mike Mercado. Of course, the one and only Paul Chivari and Dan Marver will be joining us throughout this entire episode. It is a crazy time in the National Football League, from Urban Meyer to something that's really serious, something that's actually affecting the world, and that is this Omicron virus, this Delta variant, this coronavirus. Devin and myself, obviously working in the same building, we've seen all the craziness in Chicago of how people are trying to fight this and defend, whatever kind of life sanctity we have in this crazy pandemic world. And the NFL, over 100 players on the COVID list, and the list got larger and larger as of this recording. Jalen Waddle is on the list. Tyler Lockett is on the list. Allen Robinson is on the list. Baker Mayfield is on the list. Odell Beckham, Jalen Ramsey, amongst others. And this is obviously going to continue on and on. You name a player, you name a Washington football team, you name a Cleveland Brown, you name a Chicago Bear, they might be on the COVID list. Christian, this craziness, what were your just what's going on in your brain when you just see not just in the NFL, but in the NBA, the NHL, what coronavirus is doing to these sports again?
I don't even think it's a sports thing. I think this is just this is a worldwide thing, and so many people are being affected by this, and your heart hurts for people who have been impacted by this virus. But here's my thing, and whoever's listening to this and whoever's watching this, I hope I don't come off as too harsh or too blunt. But around this time last year, there were no vaccines. People were dropping like flies, unfortunately. A year later, we have a vaccine, and it seems like nothing is working.
We got three.
We have three.
Yeah.
We have three, and it seems like this continues to occur. Look, in the sports world, and if you're an athlete, keep your mask on. Stay socially distant. Don't do anything that requires close contact. It's that plain and simple. This is tough because this feels like, all of 2020 again. 16, every time you and I would talk about, oh man, is this game going to get rescheduled to now, or is it going to be rescheduled on a Monday or a Tuesday? Like, what's really going to happen? I mean, no, it's a different sport, but, I look at the Chicago Bulls and they had 8 or 9 players.
They had 10 players at the max, and they're just now by the Lakers game are going to get by Spike, Javonte Green, and Kobe White.
And I think a couple of coaches too caught it as well. And then
the
Bears. Back to football.
Yeah,
you look at the Bears, and then back to football. You look at the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski had it last year before they played in the playoffs against the Steelers, and he has it again. Like, what's really going on? I really need to know. Are we going to get to the point now? I want to ask you guys this. Devin, I saw your hand, so I'm going to ask you first, and then Mikey, I want you to kind of tail off of this. If you're, a commissioner of a sports league, do you go the route again of no fans?
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, because I'm like, notice how the numbers are going up, and now I notice there's fans there. And I've been to White Sox games, I've been to concerts. They say keep your mask on. I think I'm the only one that does it nowadays, because I see so many. You watch a game on TV, the front row people don't ever have it, and I'm wondering if that's a big factor. I mean, we're in a big open outdoor space, but still, you can find all these fans together if they're breathing towards the field or sneezing and getting on there. Just I wonder if the fan aspect is part of what is creating this big cause in COVID cases, because like you said last year, they were happening, but not nearly as frequent. But then look again, we had the bubble for the NBA. For the NHL, NFL just had no fans altogether. But is that possibly, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, and please confront your doctors about this. And at CPT, we encourage you, please get vaccinated, please get boosted if you have not already. But do you think maybe the possibility, Mercado or Christian, the fans are a big factor of why the case numbers went up this year?
I think it just goes to, if you read some of the studies and the information that's coming up on this new variant, that it's, the symptoms are less harsh, that they're less severe, but it's more contagious. And then you add the fact that there is a vaccine out there, and we are learning a lot about what's still going on. And, think about how much we've learned in the last 15 months, what we're going to learn in another 15 months. And I think, obviously, the genie's out of the lamp, right? Like, we're not going back. I think you're going to see maybe some mandates, especially in Canada and some other countries. I think here in the United States, it's going to be state by state. I think it's going to be.
Actually, sorry to interrupt you, Mike.
No,
but I actually saw something where there's a hockey game tonight and no fans. I think it's the Vancouver. I had the.
Yeah, well, you look it up. Yeah, look it up and
Yeah,
come on in when you find it. But that goes to the point.
definitely.
We'll see what happens with the Blackhawks. We'll see what happens with them having to play so many Canadian teams. We now see that in Canada, you do need the booster shot. So there is a lot of information that we're going to be finding out. And the NFL actually is now making new rules and new protocols with the NFLPA. So we'll be on that. But Christian, I don't know. Did you find out which team was?
Montreal Canadiens. Their entire arena is going to be empty tonight when they play the Philadelphia Flyers after a request from the Quebec public health officials. So, my thing is, are we going to get to this point again? It seems like, I look, just like Devin said, I've been to a couple of games. I've been to a couple of Cubs games. I went to a Cubs game in April when they only allowed 9,000 fans at the most. Had my mask on the whole time. They even gave you masks as you walked into Wrigley. Went to a couple of Sox games this year, and then that's when it was a little bit more crowded. But just being on the safe side, you wear your mask. Like, wearing a mask, it's not like someone's cutting the kidney out of you and taking it away. Like, it's to protect you. And I mean, look, come on, man, get your mask. Plain and simple. Like, it's not that difficult. Yeah, I can't wait to see the direction that sports goes in because, like Devin said, fans have been back. Like, I'm watching that Laker game last night against the Dallas Mavericks, and it seemed like there wasn't an empty seat in the house.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. And we obviously suggest if you want to keep up to date, up to the minutes of what is going on in the world to see what the governments, your local governments, and the administrations are putting out when it comes to protocols that will affect the sports world. Make sure you keep it tuned here to WCPT all week long. We have an amazing array of shows that are going to keep you informed, and they're going to make sure that you are safe and sound, or you have the information to keep yourself safe and sound this holiday season. But before we let go, our friend Chris Simpson from what was a very interesting and awesome time to be able to talk some of these very important stories in the sports and football world. This crazy story that broke the internet. The number one overall player in the 2022 college recruiting class for the NCAA football season, Travis Hunter, was initially committed to Florida State, but swerved the world, changed it all. We are in a new day, my friends. Deion Sanders, and say what you will, Barstool Sports made it happen as he is now committed to Jackson State. Just your initial thoughts from this, what I think is an awesome move. Even your feelings of Barstool aside, my feelings for Barstool aside, a pretty awesome move. What do you think?
I think it's a great move. Like, Deion, when he got hired, Deion promised two things. One, he was going to turn Jackson State into a winner. He's done that. Okay. Two, the other thing was, I'm going to get us a big name recruit. And he did that. So he's already lived up to the promises that he put out there when he took this job. Look, Deion Sanders is football. I mean, I still think he's a superstar, and he hasn't played in over 15 years. He's the greatest corner ever to play, but he's become a great mentor to a lot of these young players in the NFL, college, and, just all around. He's referred to as Uncle Deion, just like Snoop Dogg is referred to as Uncle Snoop. I love it. A lot of people are whining about this. Oh, he made a mistake. And one sports commentator, Doug Gottlieb, I'm not really fond of Douglas, but he said Twitter is, I hate the fact that Twitter is making comments about a kid who just made a mistake. I'm like, look, I had choice words for him, but I'm going to be professional here. I said, look, Michael Strahan, arguably the greatest running back of all time, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Steve McNair, who's another one? Terrell Owens. They all went to schools that weren't big name, right? And what do a few of those men have in common? I want to test both of you. So here, I'll reword it. Michael Strahan, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, and the late great Deacon Jones. They all went to HBCUs. What do they all have in common?
I think they were really good at football. What happens if you're really good at football, Devin?
There's a few things. There's this thing called the Hall of Fame, and I know a few of them. Mercado, what's that thing on your left hand?
Oh, they get a thing when you win a championship. You get rings. So it's just it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, they're Hall of Famers. You know, they're etched into eternity forever. You know, they have that gold jacket. And it doesn't matter where you go. These scouts will notice you when you put the work in. Just continue to put the work in. Everything else will fall into place. You know, I look at a guy like an Antonio Brown. Now, I know there's been some head scratches with him, but he went to Central Michigan, and look at what happened with him. He was one of the best wide receivers in his peak. At his peak, AB was that dude, okay? Like, AB was that guy during his Pittsburgh days. Doesn't matter where you get it. I mean, look, doesn't matter what round you're drafted, just as long as you get your foot in the door. I mean, we can make a case about, I don't know, some quarterback who's won 7 rings, plays in Florida. You guys heard of him? I think his name begins with a T.
Timmy, right?
Yeah, Tim Tebow. That's how you make it full circle, boys. We started with Urban Meyer, we end with Urban Meyer. That's how we do it.
Nah, man. But I mean, look, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round, 199th overall pick. I know y'all remember that documentary, The Brady Six, talking about the 6 quarterbacks that were all selected before him. But look at Tom. I mean, look, 22 years in, he still plays with that chip on his shoulder. Like, he has something to prove. And this is a man that's done it all. He's won the MVPs. He's been to conference championships. He's won the Super Bowls. He's played in 10 Super Bowls. That's more than some franchises have played in altogether. And this man's been in 10 of them by himself. So, look, man, to anybody that's watching this who's a draft hopeful or they're going to a smaller school to play football, just get your foot in the door because greater things are coming. Work harder than anybody else. Get your foot in that door. Continue to play with professionalism, and a lot of great things will come your way. So everybody, Douglas, that wants to bash this kid for making the best decision for him, stop it. Stop it. Because Florida State right now isn't in a position to win. Like, if this were Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State, maybe Oklahoma, maybe USC to follow Lincoln Riley, okay, I could understand that. But look, he's going to play for a Hall of Famer, a guy who's proven himself. And at this point, I know I've heard the rumblings about Deion potentially becoming Florida State's head coach. For what? Why now? Like, yo, you're really putting Jackson State back on the map.
He's having commercials with Nick Saban. He's not going anywhere. And neither are we. We got a whole full episode of the Sports Cubicle left because there's a lot of stuff we still need to get to. But, Christian, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Where can the people find you?
You guys can find me. Here's the website, thedailyblitz.blog. Follow us on Twitter at dailyblitz_61. Actually about to make my way. Huge game in the AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers. Follow us on Instagram at thedailyblitz_61 and like the Facebook fan page, facebook.com/thedailyblitz.
And the new podcast.
The new podcast, yeah, Monday Evening Quarterback. I pre-record it. And then I air it on Monday nights on YouTube. Subscribe to me on YouTube. I keep forgetting I have a YouTube channel, y'all. Look, when you have so much, you just sometimes lose track of everything. Yeah, I take phone calls. So if you guys want to be on, just email me, let me know, or get in contact with me. We'll set something up. These two are actually going to be on very soon because the other one was on last week, Paul Chivari, or as he likes to be called, Professor Buckets. But I'll be on with these guys a little bit more. Love these guys to death. I can't thank these guys enough for giving me a shot, and it's just a tip of the cap to you guys.
Say less, our man Chris Simpson. Follow the one and only Devin on Twitter at ReallyDevin. I'm at Twitter at Mike M Media. You can follow the show on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. We got a lot left here on the Sports Cubicle with Devin Tingle, Paul Chivari, Dan Marver. I'm Mike Mercado.